I'm Eva Oh, and this is the Teakink podcast. I've been a dominatrix since 2011, and I would like to spill the tea on my life. Thank you for listening. Today's question is, am I a sellout? So I have been approached by so many TV people lately, and agents and managers, and it's so strange for my brain to comprehend. If you had told me that this would be happening back in 2011 when I was sitting in that dungeon as a baby dominatrix, I wouldn't have understood how. Like, there was no connection in my mind from me sitting in that waiting room, waiting for clients, doing my 8-hour shifts 3 to 5 times a week, just about paying my rent, to somebody trying to get me to sign contracts to be on multiple TV shows. Why? You know? And that's even a question I ask myself now. And I additionally ask, why would I? The media has not been kind to its representations of sex workers or even women forever. And so, why? Why? Why would I give you this career that I've created? Why would I give you access to me? Why would I want all of these eyes on me? Like yours. Is that going to put me at risk? And I've done an episode on becoming an AI companion. But isn't that funny how I have more enthusiasm for that because I feel like it's something else, it's not me. Whereas I feel like I would have to go through the experience of being on these TV shows. And not only that, a bunch of managers and agents have also been asking whether they can represent me. And I don't think I'm ready for that, but it's also been very puzzling for me to figure out. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to be doing like brand deals? Like, they want to hire a dominatrix now? They want to hire a sex worker now? This is fashionable? That kind of disgusts me. But am I open to it? How does this idealism fit in this? Doesn't. It doesn't. Is that just the world? So many questions. So many questions. But yeah, TV stuff started rolling in maybe a year and a half ago. Actually, no. I've always been somebody who has been interviewed quite a lot. Even in my first year as a dominatrix, somebody came across something that I wrote and they asked to interview me for the major newspaper in Sydney. And I said, I haven't been doing this for very long. Why do you want to know? I think you should interview somebody else. And she said, yeah, but they do not speak like you do. And I thought, okay, I'll do part of the interview. And I think that's been a reoccurring theme. I don't seek out these interviews, yeah, they've come to me because of how I am presenting myself. And apparently it's something that is good for ratings. And it's not only to do with the fact that I'm a dominatrix. Obviously, there's something also about the way that I communicate. All right, so fine. I get it. It helps you sell something. And I get something out of it because I enjoy the challenge of speaking to people who don't know that much about my world. I enjoy the purpose that it gives me in order to try to represent our world a little bit. I enjoy the fact that it's something new and that I have to wrap my head around, and I like to learn. Um, but it didn't feel right for the longest time. I said no many times. I asked a lot of questions that exposed a lot of gaps. But lately I've been asking questions and have gotten some pretty good responses. And so the TV journey begins. I don't know if anything's going to come out of it because from what I'm learning, these things take a lot of time. And it may mean that something might not even come out. But I'm responding. I'm responding. And let's see what happens, huh? But I have asked them one of my many questions. And one of my many questions was, why now? You know, you literally, this industry has not been interested in hearing our voice. You've been interested in representing us fairly terribly most of the time, but you've never actually asked for an accurate account of what it might be in order to represent it a little bit more accurately. And to be frank, you'd probably get a richer story because the reality of it, the experienced reality of it, is just so much more nuanced and layered than any representation that somebody who had no experience could conjure up. I wonder if AI will get there. Go listen to the AI episode. But so I asked them, why now? Why are you interested in me as a sex worker and a dominatrix now? And they said, well, frankly, we need content. And the more niche that it is, the more space and room that it has now in what people are buying. I thought, okay, honest answer. There's just such a saturation of content that now they need to start to look into the corners. And hey, I'm in a corner. So there's that explanation. Just the fact that we have so many things out there that are available to us. That we've heard so many stories, and now we look for newer ones. That they're finally up for listening to us. How do I feel about that? Am I bitter? Or is it the time to become a part of that? I'm trying. I've been given, I don't know whether it means a lot. It sounds of interest to me, my lawyers, but I've been given executive producing credits on a couple things. That may or may not happen. I am sort of scheming some production company things of my own. Very early days on that, so I'm not going to talk about that. But I could not have imagined that this is where it was going. But could I have imagined that I would become a dominatrix 10 years before I did? I mean, how old would I have been? I would have been 16, 10 years before I became a dominatrix. I was 26, 27 when I became a dominatrix. If you had told me that you would be working in a dungeon at 16, I would have thought, okay. I would have been more sure of that than I feel currently about this whole mass media thing. she said, speaking into a microphone, staring into a camera to put out into the world. But the thing is with this, I am controlling the narrative to a certain extent. I mean, I'm going to be the one publishing it on my channel, right? It's not going to be somebody editing this. I'm doing all the heavy lifting, I'm doing everything. And there's more control in a narrative over that. And that's a huge hesitation that a lot of workers have had when it comes to being in media, even being interviewed. A lot of people feel that our story can be misconstrued, can be used against us. Mm-hmm. They don't trust the media. Do I? Do I trust any event? What do I think about when I go through this process of saying, sure, I'll take that interview, or yes, hand me that contract? I think, you know what? I have an opportunity here to be able to speak something out into the world that I think represents a group of people who I am so grateful for. I think that it represents them a little bit more. And so I'm going to do it. I'm going to take that interview. And I think that's the same sort of feeling that I'm getting with this television thing. But again, it's quite funny for me to realize how much hesitance I have over this as opposed to the AI stuff, which is actually a much wider unknown, right? I guess we have an established relationship with TV and an established mistrust, whereas it's not an established mistrust, but it's a maybe we should mistrust when it comes to being an AI companion. Yeah. But the chats with the agents and the managers have been quite interesting, even though I don't feel that I am ready for that. Yeah. It's it's really funny, to talk about how much my Instagram post is worth when they're just kicking sex workers off of that platform here and there. It's weird. And it just goes to show, I guess, what the world is. It can be an utter contradiction. It can be, the contradiction of, oh, this is going to sell, but yet, hang on, no, 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 we cannot have this. Oh, but it does. But we need to use it. But how are we going to use it without it encroaching upon our like profitability? But let's make profit out of it. It's just sounds insane. But if you're going to interact with the world, that is just how it is, right? It's contradiction, it's insanity. There are attempts at structures amongst the chaos. Embrace the chaos. Who coined that? Who coined that? Uh, wow. I have always had a thing where I was not great with the concept of chaos until I think I learned how to organize it. what what taught me how to do that the most was meditation. I was a Vipassana meditator for I don't know how many years it was. It was like a minimum of 2 hours a day, up to 10 hours a day, over maybe a 5 year period. Yeah. Now I do it much more sporadically. And what it taught me was to watch my inner workings before being taken by the external workings. And what it also taught me was that everything is a reflection of each other, but that we can go into maybe on its own episode. But I think that having a system of observation is what helped me find some structure to the chaos, or at least a practice within the madness. So, shall I embrace the madness that it is of this TV contracts influencer madness? I'm curious. I'm biting. I'm not intimidated. I'm aware of what their ramifications could be, and I'm going to use them as much as I can, and hopefully more than they're using me. In this new reality. Yeah, this ever shifting reality. Hmm. I wonder sometimes how far we move towards or away from a more cohesive way of being, and whether cohesion is even what we're looking for. But I digress. Am I a sellout? I asked myself a lot of questions as I started to really think about this, and one of them was that question. And what makes somebody a sellout? When they give up on their values, right? And their morals, uh, whether it be for money or anything else. It deviates away from what they thought or you thought that their value system was. So, first of all, it doesn't matter what other people think if they think I'm a sellout. It matters to me a little bit about what my immediate community believes. I have spoken to people in my immediate community and asked for their advice on this. And I did that before I accepted any contracts. So that was quite reassuring. Those were incredible conversations that brought the reality of them using me and me definitely trying to use them. Uh, I brought that conversation up for example. But it also it's nice to hear that people believe in my ability to be able to do this. I mean, only time will tell, right? But I think ultimately my intentions are fairly solid and fairly for the good of our community above my personal gain. And I think that's a useful place to be in. I am interested in personal gain, but I gather a lot of personal gain from the development of the people who I care about. And for all of us to develop in a way that is going to be better for all of us, even the people I don't care about. So, on a TV screen near you. Hmm. I Through this process, I also tried to think about who I could speak to, who has been in these positions before. And I thought a little bit about Drag Race. Not that RuPaul's going to talk to me, or at least I don't imagine so, unless I become a TV star. And I thought about drag queens and how they've risen to prominence in the media sphere and how more people are participating in that culture internationally. You know, like I see drag queens in Southeast Asia, where I'm originally from, acting quite freely. And that was not as prominent before Drag Race started touring our region. And I thought whether there were any parallels in that. I'm not sure if there are, maybe some, But I feel like that has a lot to do with identity and expression, whereas mine is work, but then it's also about me as a woman making a choice over something that somebody says I shouldn't have a choice over. So I guess maybe there are more parallels than I realized. So reach out, Ru. First name basis. Is that how his name works? I'm not sure. Are there two first names? Very confused. But yeah. But then it's been interesting to see that also go on, right? I mean, there's been more representation in the media. There's been more comfort around stepping into that expression internationally. And it's been amazing for me to see that in some of the friends that I grew up with in these societies that have been so oppressive. But then there's also been a lot of things that have been happening in America that I'm aware of around drag queens not being able to be, and that they're dangerous. And yeah. And has that law come up, or that conversation even come up because of this representation? I mean, any scholars out there want to tell me? But from where I sit, I think that that kind of prejudice happened irregardless of representation. But there's been more people who have been able to experience freedom as a result of that particular representation. And we've noticed the fights against that freedom. So the case study was RuPaul's Drag Race. Are there any others? But let's see what happens, huh? I asked this already on the AI companion episode where I talk about becoming an AI companion. But am I going to regret this? I don't experience regret. There was a moment there when my father died for a couple of weeks where I thought, do I regret aspects of our relationship that I would have liked to have improved upon? But I think so deeply as things are happening that I made the right decisions over the times that we had together, that I don't regret it. And an aspect of me thinks that, am I just trying to survive this for the better? And maybe I am on a level, but it's a very quiet level compared to the logic that I run through. And I think it's a different scenario, but it's a similar thing when it comes to these TV contracts, these agents, managers, and advertising, and influencer hoo ha, and AI companion contracts, and anything. I think that I think as deeply as I can, and I try to cast a wider net of research, and I try to do the best that I can. I'm doing the best that I can every time. And if it comes out in something hurtful for me personally, it hurts. But I did the best that I could at the time. And there's no regret that comes with that compassion for the me that was before, that didn't know any better, but tried really hard to. And I think I'm going to approach this the same way. Just try to be as informed as possible and try to think deeply and consult with people who know that you care about. Do all decisions need to be so deeply thought through? Maybe we would be better off if they were. We'll see. So thank you for listening. Speak to you next time.